Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion. My name is Dirk Keller. I'm sorry. Bob Boyd is back with us. Pat White is here, and as always, Earl the Pearl Murphy.
That's him.
Appreciate you being here with us today on a frosty Ash Wednesday. I had my filet fish, and oh, by the way, I'm going to be working the Regina fish fry every Friday.
Yeah.
So I encourage everyone to come by and say hi.
Do you have a specific duty, or do you know?
I have a specific time slot, 4:30 to 7:40, or 4:45 to 7:30, and I have no idea
where they put you, right?
Yeah, wherever they tell me to go, I'll go.
Well, you did last year, didn't you?
I did not.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay.
I did not, and felt kind of guilty about it because I have some free time at this point before summer starts, and I get all wrapped up with the Friday night concerts and Arts Fest and all that other stuff. But
Dirk, your shirt looks good.
It is spring training time,
You're
Earl.
a National League fan, so it's probably okay.
But my son Jason got this for me for Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's Bob. It's a Cardinals jacket with a hood. It's really nice and warm. And I wanted something warm to wear today. I didn't have to go see any clients, so I didn't put on any dress clothes, and I'm real glad because my feet have just been freezing all week in the dress shoes.
Well, Pat's going to have to start wearing his White Sox stuff then.
Yeah.
You keep wearing that, I'll get it.
Now, pitchers and catchers report
2 days.
On Friday, yeah. And already a lot of players are back in Florida, in Arizona.
Yeah.
They report early, and they're anxious to get going. And
is A-Rod down there?
A-Rod's apologized.
Yeah. But we don't know for what.
Yankees are still in Tampa.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll be going there soon.
Yeah.
I'm envious. I'm also envious of just about anybody that plays the Iowa men's basketball team these days.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, a week ago, I really stepped out on the ledge.
What a difference a week makes, huh?
Oh, man.
I sat here and said the Hawks could win every one of their remaining games. And I think it was you, Bob, who immediately says, don't go there. And I knew they weren't going to win every remaining game. That's just pretty rare opportunity. But I didn't think they would lose at home to Minnesota. And I really didn't think they'd lose on the road at Northwestern. And both games looking not just discombobulated, but unprepared for the game.
Pretty disappointing week.
Yeah, extremely and this is on the heels of what I consider the two best games of the season that the Hawkeye men have played. When they went to Michigan and throttled them, as they should have, and they came home and throttled, at the time I think they were 17th ranked Maryland.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that was the most disappointing in those two games to me was Aaron White's post-Minnesota comment.
Yes.
Wherein he said he thought they lost the game in warm-up.
Yeah.
What the heck is that about?
Very puzzling statement. Yeah.
I appreciate his honesty, and I was glad to hear, because that's what it looked like. They came out unready.
He felt that way. He's a senior, and he's supposed to be a leader of the team as a senior. If he felt that way, he should have fired him up. Should have done something.
Wake them up in the locker room before they come out to the court. That was puzzling. And then, quite frankly, his performance in both games was puzzling. Minnesota and Northwestern.
It was downright stinky.
Yeah, I mean, this is our all Big Ten performer, and like you said, Pat, a senior leader, supposedly. It never surprises me when Minnesota beats us, because we seem to always split with them. And yes, we should have won, but that Northwestern game was. There's no way I expected that.
But we've lost more games at Northwestern over the last 10 to 15 years than we've won.
Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
With 3 different coaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a bad Northwestern
like 6
team.
and 10 over the last.
Is that right?
And they were missing their leading scorer, Northwestern.
Yeah, Cobb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'll tell you what, they got some good freshmen. And one of them was a McIntosh who turned down a scholarship, the point guard, to the University of Iowa.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good recall, Bob.
Where's he from, Bob? Is he an Illinois kid?
You know, I don't think so. He's a Midwestern kid, though, I think.
McIntosh.
Yeah, he had 18 points.
Career
He's
high.
averaging 12 for the season. You know, threw him into the point guard position right away, and he's done a great job, apparently.
Got somebody, and Sobolewski's not even starting anymore.
Could we use McIntosh? That'd be the.
He sure
that would've
came in
been
and hit a couple
nice
big
get.
free throws in
He's
overtime.
a good ball player, and he started most of his
Yeah.
first 3 years.
Just to get to overtime was something.
Yes. Jared Utoff put up a shot that was twisting and falling
Yeah.
backwards, and he got fouled.
That's
Earl.
right. That's right.
He got hacked,
Yes.
and they won't call that.
Why not?
Yeah, they'd call it if it was here. You know, we'd have that go against us, but if it were reversed, I mean, if it was the other team. But, you know, I'll tell you what, this Rutgers game, it's a must-win, period. Or-
It really is.
yeah.
I
They
thought
back themselves into a corner now.
I thought Northwestern was a must-win too.
Well, agreed, yeah.
You have to win those kind of games, whether it's on the road or at home, against the bottom feeders, and that's what Northwestern is. That was their first win this calendar year. They hadn't won a game.
They'd lost 10 in a row.
Yeah.
They won their first Big Ten game, and they lost the next 10.
They out-rebounded us. We had such a height advantage on them. The AW boys, Aaron White and Adam Woodbury, combined to go 1 for 17 on field goals.
Yeah.
They,
And do you know they tied a school record for blocks, 12 blocks.
Northwestern did?
That was a school record. I heard that on the news. School record
Free throws
against
were
a
abysmal.
taller team. We were taller.
Yep. Much
We
taller.
were bigger. We didn't play bigger, but we're a bigger team. But we don't play big all the time, do we?
No. I missed the first half of the game. I was, where the heck was I? Wrestling, maybe? Hawkeye women? I don't remember.
Yeah, Hawkeye
Well,
women was
I
after.
missed the last 5 or 10 minutes headed for the women's game, so I didn't see the overtime, and I didn't see the
I was at
top
wrestling.
shot. But, you know, one of the things that I'm convinced of, that Fran will never say this, and I understand why he won't. I'm convinced Gazelle's elbow injury is still nagging his ability to handle the ball. He's not shooting from the outside. I don't think his passes have quite as much zip. He's still wearing a sleeve, which is not necessarily indicative of the injury still existing, but I just think he's
Yeah.
not as effective as he was there, starting with Purdue and for 3 or 4 games. Something's happened.
I think that's a good observation. Yeah.
But I was proud of the Jefferson, Cedar Rapids guy that transferred to.
Oglesby? Oh, Utah.
Yeah. That's what I couldn't
Yeah, he had a great game.
Yeah, he did.
He got pushed around against Northwestern. I noticed on rebounding, he would go up, and then you just see him kind of fly to one direction or the other.
Uh-huh.
He just doesn't have the girth that you need in the Big Ten.
What is
Yeah.
that call?
Should be. But, you know, we've talked about this before. The way the Big Ten plays, they could call 1 or 2 fouls on every offensive possession, and you just don't want that kind of game.
No.
So they let them play.
But it's very unusual to go 17 minutes, like Northwestern did, without a foul call.
It's very suspicious.
Yes.
Again, Fran can't speak to that.
Right, but we can.
That's ridiculous.
You know, what you guys say is true about girth and weight and these guys building muscle to perform in the Big Ten. And every now and then I got to smile to myself because I think of Glenn Vidnovic, the stick, and how he used to maneuver
Yeah.
through. And we're talking back in this 69, 70, you know, but you talk about a thin guy playing Big Ten basketball, and there were some pretty big boys
He
back
played
then.
with a purpose.
Yeah.
And he wasn't about to get pushed around. He
Oh,
did.
no.
He did
Yeah.
at times, but it was a different game
You know, in
then.
those days, the weight training
Didn't exist.
Oh,
that these teams all have today didn't exist.
that's right.
And I'm not convinced it's all good. And Josh Oglesby is my example. I watched him play 3 or 4 times in high school. He was smooth.
Yeah.
He had a great jump shot. There was none of this leaning back that he developed a couple of years ago. And he's an example of what I think is the downside of weight training. I think weight training has bound him up to a degree that his shot has physically changed. He's not as good a shooter as he was in high school.
That's a good point.
And not even close.
Yeah.
And the style of shooting is different. I mean, he could move, he could jump straight up and shoot. He didn't do any of that.
Well, you put on weight, you take away quickness.
Yeah. Now, he plays good defense. He passes the ball well. But I just think weight training has changed him.
I thought there was a key moment late in regulation when the Hawkeyes had the lead. And Northwestern comes down and they can't get a shot off until the very end of the shot clock. It's a missed shot, and Oglesby gets called for a ticky-tack foul underneath the basket that they weren't calling virtually the entire. Well, I only saw the second half. But
Who worked the game?
huh?
Who worked that game? Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't know. All I know is social media is really complaining about the refs in that game. That there was a lot that was called against Iowa, and there was plenty that wasn't called against Northwestern. The foul on Oglesby, I thought, was just Bush League. Just terrible. And I don't know if you guys have seen or heard about this, but the Penn State coach went off on the
I did see a
referees.
little bit of that.
Oh, I heard about that.
There was a play late in the game. Who were they? Maryland, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And very close game. And Penn State had the ball, and one of their players set a pick or a screen. We called them picks when I was a kid, but now they're screens. The opponent for Maryland grabbed the kid setting the screen by the arm and pulled him down backwards onto the floor. And they called a foul on the Penn State player. And it was blatant. And they called it on Penn State. And the coach went ballistic he went ballistic at that moment. He went ballistic after the game, called out the refs, said it's the worst call he's ever seen in his life. And
Not reviewable, probably.
Probably not, no. And the Big Ten, to their credit, isn't going to suspend him or fine him.
Oh, no, they fined him $10,000.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Ooh.
No suspension, though.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, $10,000.
That's significant.
And, I just think that's a mistake. And I don't know what their system is for improving officiating, but if you don't give the coaches a little latitude to complain about it, I don't think you get as good of officiating.
Yeah.
Who gets that money?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
I think there's a charity setup to receive all these fines from the Big Ten. Maybe I'm confusing that with the NFL, but I'm pretty sure it's a charity or group of charities that are set up to receive it.
Maybe it should go to officiating training films.
Yeah. Or School for the Blind.
Yeah,
No offense,
exactly.
Bob.
No offense,
It's a
but
hard
yeah.
game to officiate.
It is.
It is. That's very true. Yeah.
But sometimes it,
Yeah. But something that blatant.
When
I
you
mean,
pull a guy down on top of you, in front of God and everyone.
And I get so frustrated. There's so many delays to review the tape now. But they're trying to, quote, get it right.
Yeah.
And that, it just breaks the momentum of the game, especially toward the end. You get down under a minute and they're stopping the flow of the game.
Yeah.
You an out of bounds play, who gets possession, just drives you nuts.
The end of every game is really stretched out. And like Pat said, it drives you nuts.
Yeah.
It really takes away the enjoyment of the game. And it's not just the video reviews, it's the incessant timeouts that each team has. And the numerous timeouts that TV
There are
gets.
too many timeouts.
Just
and
way
it's
too
all
many.
about revenue,
There's
though.
no reason for
Too
it.
many timeouts
Well,
because
they don't need, since there's a timeout at every 4-minute interval,
Yeah.
why do they need to still give each team 5 timeouts?
yeah.
And they've turned the 5th foul into a timeout.
Yeah, that's another rule that's just.
It's got to end.
When somebody fouls out, get a substitute in, huddling up over at the bench. There's no reason for
No.
it.
I'll
But
be
it's all
honest.
about revenue, guys. They have more timeouts because they want more commercials and they get more money.
I thought it was
Big Ten
interesting.
Network included.
Did you watch the women's game last night?
I listened to it on the radio. I didn't watch it.
The first half was done in 42 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a very fast-paced game.
8:42, exactly right.
I looked at the clock and went,
switch on the
yeah.
radio at halftime.
Yeah, and
But how unusual is that?
8:42.
And they
Yeah.
stretched that halftime out
Well,
extra long
you know
because they
why?
had commercials to
They
get in.
didn't call any fouls against Minnesota.
Right.
Yes.
We only shot 6 free throws for the
Right.
whole game.
Yeah.
Now, let's just transition to women's basketball for a second. And I want to talk about this. I also want to talk about the difference in watching a men's game, an Iowa men's game, versus watching an Iowa women's game. That game last night at Minnesota was so exciting.
Yeah.
The pace was good, entertaining basketball. And more importantly, more to my point, why I enjoy watching the women more than the men is that they never get their daubers down, as my dad used to say.
Yeah.
I watched Aaron White late in that Northwestern game drive the baseline and then get cut off and make a pass to the other side of the basket along the baseline. It got stolen by Northwestern. It was a bad pass, and instead of busting butt and getting up court for defense,
Solved.
he hung his head, stood there a minute,
Let everybody else run down court.
right, and Northwestern scored.
Yeah.
The women last night, and really every game, there's a moment in every game or moments where your opponent goes on a run. This game last night, Iowa starts the game, Melissa Dixon hits a three, and Minnesota proceeds to hit 4 threes in a row.
Yeah,
I mean,
amazing.
it was unbelievable. And you didn't see one Iowa player put their head down or express frustration. You saw Lisa Bluter call a timeout and calm things down and address it, and boom. The women got down by 11 points.
Yeah, but
And
when
then
they
they
get
came
down
back.
by 10 or 11, they have an ability to come back. That's happened several times. to
And you
them.
know they're gonna.
Yeah.
You know they're going to.
You know they're going to heat up.
I think did Iowa get to 72 to 73?
The women?
We got to within a point, and it was, like we
Yeah.
had the ball
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
behind by a point.
I mean, the Iowa women, Pat, you're going to have to tell us more about, what was her name? Zoe B.
Zowie B.
Zowie.
Hey, Pat, how does somebody that big and that wide, how many fouls did she have? I mean, you get 29 rebounds, you're under
Well,
the
she
board
couldn't have had
banging.
very many because we only shot 6 free throws.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's my point, though. How does something like that knock?
This is biased. But she was throwing players around and they weren't
Yeah.
fouling.
No,
There you
that's
go.
right. And
Yeah.
she had the longest arms.
They called Jennings once for fouling her, and maybe Whit brushed her arm. But she was pushing people, and
Yeah.
I mean, she's very, very talented. 39 points and 29
That's
never heard of her.
unbelievable.
Isn't
Yeah.
amazing. Boy, she played here last year. She was all Big Ten freshman.
I
She was
just
the
don't remember
outstanding
her.
freshman in the Big Ten last year.
Well, she's
But
outstanding.
last year, we held her down. She redshirted a year, so
Yeah.
she's a redshirt sophomore now.
Yeah.
Where is she from?
Sweden,
Mm-hmm.
Stockholm, Sweden.
They had 3 starters from Minnesota, 1 from Colorado, and then she's from Sweden. Yeah.
She's amazing.
How did they find her?
I don't know how they did. But
Wow.
she's really good. I mean,
Yeah.
she's tall,
Thick.
thick, but she can move
Yeah.
and has a nice touch.
Yeah.
I thought in the first half that Iowa was going to wear Minnesota down because Iowa is fast and athletic. Well, I think Iowa can keep up the pace with anybody,
Yeah,
speed-wise.
Pretty good bench.
By golly, Zowie B never slowed down. I mean,
Yeah,
there were
that's
times she was slow getting up the court.
Minnesota ran with us. And to make this a little more scary, who was Minnesota's best player last year is not playing. Rachel Banham blew her knee out very
Yeah.
early in the year.
That's why they were wearing
She
those
was the player
shirts.
on the bench who was mic'd up.
Well, they don't have any seniors that start, do they? This is going to be a team.
Yeah, they do. They have this, graduate, you can transfer rule. They have one
Oh.
starter who's from Old Dominion.
Okay,
who's
that's
a senior
right.
who graduated. fifth-year senior.
Did she come with the coach? Is this coach?
This coach came from Virginia Commonwealth.
Oh,
the
okay.
Old Dominions in Virginia. So
But this is her first year.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is
The man we had, Monday at quarterback, that talked.
Billy Taylor.
He's a pretty impressive guy. I enjoyed his talk.
I
Yeah.
did too. I listened to every word the man said.
Yeah.
I thought he was excellent.
Now, how long was he at Ball State? We never asked. He was head coach at
Couple
Ball
years.
State?
Yeah, head
I didn't,
coach at Ball
yeah.
State. He played, when Fran was on the Notre Dame staff, he played
Right.
at Notre Dame. And
That's when okay, there's the connection then,
And
okay.
I think he may have been on Fran's coaching staff when Fran was at, he was in North Carolina.
Greensboro.
Greensboro.
Yeah.
I think Billy may have been there with him.
Okay.
Well, one of the things I want to point out in terms of differences between the men's and the women's teams, the women consistently play fundamentally sound. I'm not saying they're perfect, they don't make mistakes. I mean, you scratch your head sometimes. Allie Disterhoff didn't have a good game last night.
No.
No.
Didn't shoot well.
But I kept thinking, Allie's
We only
done
had-
this before.
We only had 4 turnovers in
Yeah.
the loss.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
It is.
It was a
And
well-played
26
game.
assists. It was a very well-played, very entertaining game on both sides.
And Samantha Logic, boy,
She had
she's,
a terrific game.
terrific game,
She
yeah.
had an All-American-like game herself.
yeah.
She just took that team, put them on her shoulders, and did everything she could. I loved watching her play. And folks, she only got 2 more opportunities in the regular season to see them play at home.
Right.
Let's see, next week,
Don't they fall pretty good?
26th and the 1st.
26 in the first. And of course, what's going to be real interesting is that last home game, Senior Day,
March 1st.
Minnesota.
That could determine the seeding in the Big Ten tournament.
Could be important.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be real important. The Hawks moved up to, the women moved up to number 11 in the rankings. I think USA Today had them at number 11. And again, we're talking seeding now for the NCAA tournament. If you're in the top 12 ranking, theoretically, you're going to be a 3 seed, at worst a 4 seed.
Well, the one you really want is top 16.
Right.
I mean, you play.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
And that would be huge.
You play at home and
You play-
against teams that are
That you should be.
higher ranked,
Yeah.
which you should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we get a tough game at Ohio State this weekend.
It's going to be very tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. When is that game, Pat?
Saturday afternoon.
It
Okay.
is. For some reason, I didn't have that down. I don't know why.
Maybe Saturday at 6. I'm not sure of the time. Dick,
Okay.
but I know they fly out Friday afternoon, so it's a Saturday game.
That's
And then
gonna be
they
a tough
play
one.
Wisconsin and Minnesota at home the last week, right?
Thursday, Sunday.
Thursday, Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Minnesota game last night was the third in
5 days?
5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
But Minnesota had the same schedule, so there was
Yep.
no advantage or
Yeah,
disadvantage
yeah.
there. And it was played on a Tuesday strictly to get on the Big Ten Network, which is one of those, you know, it's horrible to have to do that. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
The advantage of being on the Big Ten Network, both in terms of monetary receipts and exposure for purposes of recruiting, not just recruiting, but fan attendance. I mean, the attendance last Sunday,
Yeah.
8,748.
Yeah.
It's the
Wow.
biggest in several years.
Thanks to Charlie
Nice
Funk and
crowd.
Midwest One
Some of
Bank.
that's due to Midwest One Bank. Some of it's due to the fact that we're winning. Some of it's due to the fact of more exposure. And those all came together to produce a really, and not only big, but enthusiastic crowd.
Yeah. And it was a perfect game. Maryland or Indiana was not up to the task, and
Did you have something to do with it?
No, I don't do so much of that anymore. I did 2 years ago. We did what I call institutionalize the ticketing. I mean, I had something to do with developing Go Red for Women and Midwest One Bank, but I turned that ticketing function over to a young man by the name of Eric Hinkle, who works with sports marketing and the ticket office. And they established a group sales function about 3 or 4 years into my volunteer work. So now I'm essentially an interview booking agent. And I
So
volunteered with that.
you would be considered a consultant.
Well, I suppose you could say.
Now, hey,
Retired.
Lisa's next victory, you know what it is, don't you?
Yes, you told us.
Okay.
It was going to be her 300.
Number 300.
Number
You
300,
were
her
the
next
only one of
victory.
us who knew that.
That's pretty.
300th in the Big Ten.
Oh,
300, no,
Excuse me,
at Iowa.
At
Yeah.
Iowa.
Total victories at Iowa.
Yeah, total victories.
so it doesn't count Drake or St.
No,
Ambrose.
no.
I think she's over 600.
She must be between the
That's-
three schools, yeah.
That's impressive, and she's still young.
Very.
She's got a long career ahead of her, and I hope it's all here at Iowa.
It will be, don't you think?
I do. I do. She and her staff have done wonderful things. They've stayed together, which is really nice.
Absolutely.
But they have a bond with those ladies that I don't think it's unique, but it's starkly in contrast to what's going on with the men. They just don't let themselves get down. They have senior leadership. I want to talk, we just touched briefly last week on the women seniors. Bethany Doolittle, Sam Logic, Melissa Dixon, holy cow, she
Wow.
tried her hardest to bring that team back last night. And me and the kids, we just sat there screaming. She kept putting up threes and hitting in there in one stretch in the second half.
In the last 2 to 3 minutes, both she and Whit were taking threes
Yeah.
that they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were
yeah.
flanking them.
We were
Yeah.
down by 10 and needed to get points quickly, and
Yeah.
so they were throwing up threes that they normally would wait until they were more open. And
Yeah.
Sure.
I just think there's a stark difference between the makeup of the two teams, men's and women's. And the big part of it is confidence. And I think it starts with the coaches. I don't know if it trickles down or, it flows down to the seniors.
Do you think that having a husband who takes care of the kids, like Lisa's husband does?
Can't hurt.
well, Fran has a spouse that does that
Yeah.
too.
What?
Fran's
has a
wife.
spouse that
Yeah.
does that.
Yeah.
that
Margaret.
does that too. But it's a different game. Fran would tell you you really can't compare men and women. And I tend to agree with
Yeah,
by and
yeah.
large. Just a different game.
Why can't you compare them, Pat?
Well, the men clearly play above the rim, and the women don't.
And besides that, the ball is smaller.
Well, it is smaller as an accommodation to their physical
I know.
size. But one of the things that is different about men and women that feeds into where Dirk was going with this is if you watch a women's game, most teams you see somebody laughing and smiling with each other when they come back down the court, slapping hands or talking to each other. You very seldom see any laughing or smiling on the court from men's players.
Good point.
I think that,
Or is that chemistry?
I think it's just a difference in the game. I
Okay.
can't explain it, I just think it's there.
I think that's fair, a fair assessment. But at the same time, I expect the men's team to come out fully prepared for every game, and I expect senior leadership. I don't care if it's the Hawkeye man or whoever, and I don't see that with the men. I don't see Aaron White leading. I don't see Gabe Olashaney leading. I don't see Josh Oglesby leading. Not a one of them. Not a one of the seniors.
Olashaney and Oglesby, I think it helps you lead if you're on the court more, and they're obviously not on the court very much because, well, certainly the way Oglesby shoots has not helped this team much. And I was really surprised that Olashaney didn't get more time in the Northwestern game.
Clearly, Adam Woodbury was
Yeah.
not just having a bad game. I thought late in the game he was hurting the Hawks by being on the floor. And
Offensively or defensively?
both.
you
Both.
think?
Yeah.
Offensively, for sure.
For sure,
I thought he was
offensively.
doing all right defensively.
And Fran said he was, and that's why he was
Yeah.
in there.
They
And
missed some key free throws as
Yeah.
well.
But the free throws, I thought he got schooled defensively late in the game. I saw several instances where he was in the wrong position defensively. And then Fran did take him out in overtime. Was it overtime? when he put Olashaney in, but it was late. It was too late. We were down,
I
and
didn't see it.
yeah, it was over.
Setting aside how it got to overtime, which was a
Oh, boy.
incredible shot.
Yeah.
I wish you could have seen that.
When you in a Big Ten game, I don't care who you are, you end up tied. You play 17 minutes without a foul being called on the other team. That's just utterly ridiculous.
That is for sure.
Just ridiculous.
Do you think Fran filed a complaint?
Would only 1 point would have made the difference in
Yeah.
that game at that point.
Yeah.
Well, he certainly should have. And there were reports, again, I didn't see the end, and you probably couldn't have seen it anyway. I assume they went right off the air since with overtime they were over their window. But I read and heard about it that he, as soon as the horn sounded, he went right after, meaning physically,
Yeah.
not to assault, but to
Just-
talk to
yeah.
one of the officials.
Yeah,
I'm sure that was.
I was listening to radio, Pat, and Gary Dolphin, that's one of the first things he said right at the end of the game, that
Have you ever seen a
Coach
Big Ten
McKay.
game that a team hadn't committed a foul? And
No, not
well,
that I recall.
it would be almost impossible, wouldn't it, in
It
the
is
Big Ten, as
impossible.
physical as it
it's
is?
impossible.
17 minutes
Yeah.
without a foul. And this was not a game like the women's game where they were just up and down the floor, running, shooting.
Yeah.
This was a knockdown, drag-out game, very physical. And I thought Northwestern schooled us physically when they shouldn't have, especially when they shouldn't have.
I will tell you this, though, about Chris Collins. He's recruiting some players. They've got 4 freshmen that are going to be playing a lot of basketball there the next 3.5 seasons. And this guy's going to be able to recruit, and he's going to bring Northwestern back. And they're the only Big Ten team that have never been to the NCAA tournament.
I'd like to
And
see
you know,
it.
there's only 5 teams in the country. Did you know that? They've never been there?
Really? Who are the others?
William and Mary is one.
William and Mary.
Neither Bill or Mary has
Neither
been to
Bill
the
or Mary's
NCAA.
been there. And Northwestern, and this will get you, you never guess this one, St. Francis of Brooklyn, Army,
Yeah.
and the Citadel. Those are the 5 teams. Never been to the NCAA. And St. Francis and Bill and Mary have a chance to get there this year.
They do? Wow.
Yeah, William and Mary's
Yeah, they got a chance.
got a shot.
I
They
just
got to
assume-
win their tournament.
I just assume Northwestern never gets there. I don't like them.
Well,
got nothing against Chris
like Pat
Collins.
said, they sure give us fits.
That's why I don't like them.
Yeah.
I don't like anybody in the Big Ten anymore.
Like all sports, going back to men's basketball, recruiting is the key.
Yep.
Amen.
And Aaron White has been better than we expected.
Yes.
He's got some weaknesses. He can't shoot. Woodbury and Gazelle have been way less than we expected, and I assume way less than Fran expected. I mean, Fran had to get them
Had to.
because they were high-profile recruits, and
Yes.
it would not have been good. It was bad enough that Marcus Page went to North Carolina and all the other people we've lost.
But White
And
hasn't.
when Fran got Woodbury and Gazelle, our thinking was, this is turned around.
Yes.
They just weren't the players we thought they were going to be, especially Woodbury. It's not the
Yep.
player we thought he was.
Think of that Northwestern game. Again, I only saw the second half, but there were, I don't know if it was back-to-back plays where Woodbury got the ball underneath the basket and went to the hoop. And not only did he not dunk the ball as a 7'1" guy, but he got rejected by a much shorter guy both times. And the announcer the second time said, "I'm sorry, but you just got to take it up
Well,
with authority."
He can't. He can't jump. And he has relatively short arms.
You can't jam it.
Just let me finish up this recruiting thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year, we only had one scholarship. We recruited Peter Jock, who could shoot lights out, can't play defense.
Yep.
His career is essentially half over, and he's made very little contribution.
And we're finding out he has asthma now.
He's contributed a little offensively in
Right.
the last month. This year, we had 2 scholarships. Dominic Ewell,
3.
3. Dominic Ewell, Brady Ellingson, and Trey Dickerson. Dickerson's contributed nothing. Ellingson is hurt. Ewell's contributed very little. I mean, I think he's going to be a good ball player,
I hope he will.
but he hadn't made any real difference with his team.
No.
So We haven't added anything to speak of noticeably by recruiting in the last 2 years. And the year before that, 2 of the recruits that we thought were really going to turn the program around just haven't.
I want to know why Trey Dickerson didn't get in the game against Northwestern. They kept sitting in that 2-3 zone, and Gasell couldn't penetrate it. Why not bring a cat-quick point guard in who can do some penetration? Give the guy a chance. I don't get it. He never played. He's only played one Big Ten game, and I'm drawing a blank now which one that was. It was recently.
Was
Ohio State?
Wisconsin?
Oh, I think it was Wisconsin. Here. That's what it was. It was a red team.
And he hadn't played very much. And
His career's half over.
at this point, well, no, he's got 2 more years.
2 years after this
It
year.
was 3 years to.
Right, but that's half over.
That's half over, 2 out of 4,
yeah,
yeah.
3 years here.
Just like
That's why everybody assumes that the one scholarship we have left for this year, everybody assumes Fran is going to look for a big man. But I think he, more than a big man, needs and wants a point guard.
Point guard. But at this point, what are your choices?
Well, what he said is,
JC?
no, he wants a high school freshman, and there are 1 or 2 out there still.
Still out there?
Yeah.
You just wonder why are they still out there if they're in high school right now? They haven't been picked off.
Either they haven't decided, or they didn't get the right offers, or they were marginal
tweeners.
qualifiers.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a kid by the name of Christian Williams who's, and I forget where he's from. I think someplace in
Well, he must be a religious kid.
Christian?
6'4",
Just kidding.
well-regarded point guard.
Where's he out of? You don't remember?
Missouri?
I don't. There's a big man, a big kid, who's at Spirit Lake, who's a junior,
Yeah.
who Fran is, I think, fairly interested in,
But he's a junior.
but he's a junior, yeah.
This is Fran's 5th year.
Yes.
And
It doesn't
a
seem.
lot of, it's gone by quickly.
It has.
If they don't make the NCAA this year, the NCAA tournament,
And they may not.
and they very well may not.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about you, Pat, Bob, Earl. I think they have to win out to make it.
Well, they're not going to win out.
No.
And I think they have to make it.
Well, another.
My prediction for the last 6 games is 2-4.
That's NIT, baby.
And if we're here, the place won't be full. That's
It'll be empty. It's always spring break.
less than half full for an NIT game at Carver High.
Yeah. It's going to be very disappointing. And then next year, who knows? You've got 4 new recruits coming in, maybe a 5th. We'll see.
Well, I think there'll be a 5th.
It sounds like it.
I don't know if the 5th will be playing, but there'll be a 5th.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how much. Go ahead.
Kid at Oak Hill, Fleming,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
is a shooter.
Yeah.
Which we don't have
Supposedly.
this year. But no, he is. I've seen him play a couple times on
Okay.
TV.
I've seen him a couple times.
Their team is ranked #1 in the country.
Yep.
He plays about half the game, not because he's half the game good, but because they've got so many ball players.
Too much talent.
Yeah.
And he can hit threes like nobody on our team right now can do.
Okay, that's
we
good
haven't
news.
seen enough of Ellingson to know whether he can shoot.
Do you think you'll get a medical red shirt?
Yeah.
I hope so, because they sure
They
damn-
played him a while.
7 games. See, that's within the. They knew the number, and
Okay.
they were confident that he would get it. I hope they. knew
Hope
what
they're
they were
right.
doing.
Have you seen him practice, anybody? This Ellington? Is he supposed to be a shooter?
I saw him play.
He had some threes when he was
Yeah.
on the court.
He didn't make a huge impact on me.
Okay.
He didn't make a huge impact on the game. I'll go back to Trey Dickerson. The kid, we haven't had a kid that quick on the Hawkeye since maybe Ronnie Lester. I mean, we've had the
Yeah.
Spider Urseries and the Johnny Forts who lasted a year or two.
Is he Carfino quick?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's cat quick, and he can stop on a dime and cut a different direction. But he's also often out of control.
Yeah.
Maybe often's a little strong.
Defense is not great.
No.
He,
I think his knowledge of the game isn't very
turns the
well.
ball over too much.
No.
Yeah.
But he brings a different element to the game, and I really thought the Northwestern game called for it. We just could not get over the hump, and we did the same thing against Minnesota. Why not throw the kid out there? Like you said, Gaselle's elbow, it's got to be problematic.
Well, our real
Clemens-
nemesis, though, has been shooting.
Hmm?
I mean,
No, that's right.
the
week everything looked rosy, Michigan and Maryland, we were shooting 60%.
Yeah.
yeah,
but we were
you
also
shoot
shooting
60%
in the
once
paint.
every 2 years, and they happen to do it two games in a row.
Well, but then they've dropped all the way down into the 30s.
Yeah.
Couldn't we settle in at somewhere between 40 and 50?
But the difference
That's
is
normally where they are.
We didn't get the ball in the
38%,
paint.
39, 40.
we didn't put the ball in the lane against Northwestern.
Well, and when we did, it got blocked.
And that's unacceptable against a team like that. We've got better players than that. I just thought we looked soft. White, I don't know if Aaron White was sick or what, but he looked so soft and just beaten. And I don't know if the season's just catching up to him or...
It's a long season.
It is.
But
Yeah, it is.
long for everybody. It was long
Yes.
for Northwestern.
But you know what? After what they went through last year, losing 7 out of their last 8 games, I would think that these boys would have incentive
Yeah.
Yeah.
every time they walk out on the court.
They say they
Not
do.
to have that happen again, and we may be on the verge of that happening again.
It won't surprise me at this point
Yeah.
after what we've seen the last 2 games. And it's amazing how much can change in a week. We were on cloud 9 just a week ago today. 2 back-to-back and very impressive games, very impressive performances. Adam Woodbury's 2 best games of the season, maybe of his career. And then
Well, let's hope that next week we're back on cloud 9 again and with a victory. Rutgers at home and Nebraska on the
You
road.
guys need to keep in mind what every Division I coach tells you over and over and over.
Yeah,
Don't get too high when
Yeah.
you win. Don't get too low when you lose.
that's what I tell my
Very true.
kids.
And we did. We have.
yeah, we've been guilty of that.
And I don't blame us for doing it because we looked at the schedule and said, they could win every one of those games. They should win every one of them, but maybe at Indiana. Now,
One of our problems is we're 15 years starved for basketball relevance.
Yeah,
It's hard to believe. It's
been
actually
a
been
long
16.
time.
8 years Alford, 3 years Licklider, 5 years McCaffrey is 16 years
yeah.
since Tom Davis left. And
And when he did leave, he made the Sweet 16 his last year.
yes,
Yeah.
we were relevant right up to the Northwestern State game with Alford here, and nothing was ever the same after that game.
no, that's right.
That last second three-pointer in the corner.
Guy falling out of bounds and made the shot.
I thought I
was
saw
at
a
barbecue
ghost.
place in
Oh,
Georgia, south of Atlanta.
you
I
couldn't
remember
believe
exactly
it, could
where
you?
I was, too.
Boiled my lunch.
Oh,
Oh,
I
man.
had the guy climb up on the roof to change the antenna to get the game.
well,
Very kind to do it.
let's talk a little bit about wrestling.
Yeah.
We have an outstanding,
That's a
besides an
positive.
outstanding women's basketball team, we have an outstanding wrestling program at the University of Iowa. Number 1 ranked,
Yep.
Big Ten champs. They took out Michigan last Friday at home.
Say that again. Big Ten champ.
Big Ten champ. And it's
Yeah.
been a long time for any sport at Iowa to have a Big Ten champion.
That's right.
I'm going to say 5 years. And it was probably the wrestling team the last time.
Track team.
Oh, track.
Track, yep.
Outdoor track championship.
That was
That was wonderful.
okay.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that was wonderful. That was really special. The wrestlers beat Michigan, a really salty Michigan team with a lot of ranked wrestlers. That was a fun meet to attend. And then Sunday, just last Sunday, the national duels began with Virginia coming to town, and they had a couple of ranked wrestlers, and Tom Brands rested 3 of his starters at heavyweight. At 174, Mike Evans sat out. Bobby Telford sat out at heavyweight, and then Gilman at 125 sat out. And we lost the 125 match to start the meet. And when 174 came up, Virginia had I think he was 7th or 8th ranked wrestler come out. He was cut. He was buff. He looked like a bull. And we send out Alex Meyer from Southeast Polk High School.
It's twice he's done it.
And he, not only did he stand up to this guy, but he beat him again at the last minute, just like he did the guy for Illinois. And it was so exciting to be there for that. This kid is just a sophomore. Alex Meyer, remember that name. And remember Southeast Polk High School, because they've got 2 kids coming in next year for the Hawkeyes that are pretty special. And let's remind everybody, the high school wrestling state tournament is this weekend.
Which they are favored to win.
They are favored. Southeast
they've
Polk
got
to win,
12 out of 14 positions. They have 12 wrestlers going to state.
Wow.
They have ranked wrestlers who don't start.
Think of that. Think of that. And we have Earl Murphy has a grandson.
Yeah.
For Clear Creek, right? Mm-hmm. And he made it to state.
Connor, yeah.
And by the way, Jerry Mitchell's granddaughter was on that Southeast Polk Girls State Basketball Championship team last year. Yeah, she's a sophomore this year.
What a great experience. Well, I'll tell you something else that's going to be great. This weekend, the national duels, quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals are all being held here in Iowa City. Starting on Saturday at noon, there are 8 of the best teams in the country coming in. This is not individual like the NCAA tournament. These are national duels, so it's team versus team. Saturday morning at noon, or Saturday afternoon at noon, the Hawkeyes will wrestle 8th seed Tennessee Chattanooga. That's a good team. In fact, the Brands brothers, one of the Terry, I think, was the head coach there for a while. And let's see here. Who else do we have? We have number 2 ranked Missouri with a 21-0 record. Number 3 Ohio State at 13-3. Number 4 Minnesota 11-2, and number 5 Cornell at 15-1. They're all going to be here. So Saturday morning there'll be 4 mats on the floor at Carver Hawkeye.
Here too?
They are not.
Oh.
I don't think they are here. I didn't know. They aren't here. So 4 mats, 8 teams going at once at noon, and then at 3 o'clock, the 4 remaining teams will go at each other. Iowa will, if they beat UT Chattanooga, which they should, they will face the winner of Minnesota versus Cornell.
Ooh.
And I'm telling you, Cornell's tough. They've got some outstanding individuals. Minnesota is too. The Hawks just whooped them good up there a couple weeks ago, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. But it's, we didn't get a whole lot of the big home meets this year. Every decent team that Iowa played was on the road. Ohio State, Minnesota, Okie State, and I'm forgetting one other. But anyway.
Do we then wrestle Sunday as well?
Yes, and then the final will be on Sunday at 11:30 if they win. Well, yeah, no matter who wins, it'll be Sunday at 11:30. Now, the Big Ten Network is going to cover the 3 p.m. on Saturday meet, and then also on Sunday at 11:30.
Okay.
So exciting stuff.
Is it just 11:30 on Sunday? Is it just the top 2 teams in the championship? That's it. Okay.
Yep. That's it.
What is the Big Ten championship?
I think it's 2 weeks from this weekend. They usually give them 2 weeks after the season is over for rest and recovery. This is going to be a battle royale down there.
Where is it this year?
Ohio State, Columbus.
Is it like the weekend of the 6th of March or something like that? Does that sound right?
I don't know.
6th and 7th of March?
I don't know.
For wrestling?
I don't know. I wish I could answer that.
The Big Tens, I mean. Yeah.
Right.
I think it is. Yeah.
And then don't they wait 2 more weeks for the NCAAs?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. I know the NCAA wrestling tournament's always during spring break.
Yes. The second weekend of spring.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that your theory, your math would be right spot on. So.
But Tom Brands is a good coach.
Oh, boy.
He is.
Sure is.
He really is.
He's a great coach.
Yeah.
But we talked about the Big Ten championship being the first one in several years. he's kind of matter of fact about it. I mean, that's not what he wants.
It's not what it's about. It's that.
That's what we love about Tom Brands, though, don't we? He says it like it is.
Most coaches who win a Big Ten championship holding that trophy high up over his
Yeah.
he's got it tucked under his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we like about him.
Oh,
That's
and
right.
Gable was the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gable was the same way.
This is what we expect
Yeah,
to
and
win.
Gable's back in town. He was there this weekend for both meets. He went down to Florida for, I don't know if he was there for a month or a
He's
couple of
probably
weeks.
on a book tour. He's
Oh, yeah?
got a
Who you
good
talking
book.
about?
Dan Gable.
Oh, he does?
He was at Bump's birthday party.
Good. He should have been.
Yeah.
Before I forget, high school girls basketball state tournament has
Oh, yeah.
started. The 1A and 2A girls teams began Monday and Tuesday. Regina had a big win last night over Highland, and they will host Pekin on Friday at 7 o'clock. So you can go to the fish fry at Regina, come say hi to me, and then go to the girls
Yeah.
basketball game. Pack the gym. No matter what happens, it's the last game at home for the Regina girls.
Who's that? This Compton?
Mary Crompton, is a freshman.
Yeah.
And the leading scorer.
Uh-huh.
And she's just a little mighty mite.
Oh, she.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was the big star last night. She had 18 points. They're a very good team. In fact, Iowa City's blessed because
Oh, boy.
the City High girls are really good, really talented, and the West High girls are right at the top for large schools. It's a
Yeah.
shame that one of them has to lose to get to the state tournament, but
You know, you can read the newspapers and it'll be about girls, and you're reading thinking that what boys, and I get confused.
yeah, it's easy, especially this time of year.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the boys' state tournament will start next week. So you've still got some regular season games to go this, and I think, boys, City High's got it rough. They've got 2 ranked teams, one on the road. West High, Saturday night, has a team, Saturday afternoon.
3 o'clock.
And where are they from? Minneapolis?
Yeah, Minneapolis de La Salle.
That's right. And this is a team that they played
Summer
last year.
Championship.
Yep.
Minnesota.
Well,
So,
Regina plays West Branch in a tournament game on Thursday night. West Branch beat Durant. Regina had a bye, so they play Thursday night at Regina, and
It's not-
losers eliminated.
boys,
Yep. Yep.
I thought, okay, so 1A.
I'm sure of that. Yeah.
It's not a regular season game.
No. No.
Good chance for revenge.
Yeah.
You're right, Bob. That's right.
But isn't Regina one of the favorites to win it?
They're unranked now, the boys.
They lost 3 in a row, Murph. They lost to Cascade and
They can recover.
A good Cascade team. They lost at West Branch.
yeah, but there was somebody else they lost.
I want to say Monticello.
3 in a row there. They lost.
Monticello.
That dropped them out. So I'd be surprised if they got to Des Moines.
I'll be darned.
We'll see. It
Yeah.
depends. It
Oh,
depends.
yeah.
You never know.
What about the girls?
I wouldn't be surprised if the Regina girls make it. Both teams have brand new coaches, so there's some
That's
adjustment.
true, yeah.
And I have to be honest. I'm puzzled at how the Regina boys coach uses Cook. I see him playing out on the perimeter offensively most of the game, and I'm thinking, why? But he's a coach. I'm not. We'll see how it works out for him. They've lost some games they probably shouldn't have lost. But Cascade, I wasn't there, but I'm told they're a very good, big.
Yeah. Oh, the
team.
other one was Comanche. That was their third
yeah.
one. That was the 3 in a row they lost to
Maybe it's Comanche. I'm
Cascade,
thinking of.
West Branch, and Comanche.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's over by the Quad Cities.
the new season starts now.
Yeah.
It's playoff time. It's exciting.
One and
Again,
done.
Wrestling, state wrestling tournaments this weekend. There's nothing like the pageantry at the state wrestling tournament. I love the Grand March. I just love it. I love seeing all the different uniforms and robes, and
Yeah.
I love seeing these kids standing on the winner's stand. I love listening to Mark Ironside call it. I
Yeah.
hope Mark Allen, Iowa City boy.
Iowa City product, yeah.
Mark Ironside is probably really torn this week.
He is. I heard them talking about it after the meet Sunday, and
Yeah.
he's going to be, I think his first commitment is high school wrestling.
Yeah.
And then He's going to be bouncing back and forth, he
Probably
said.
be back for Sundays.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet so, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the who's
Say that again, Earl?
who's he have?
Mark Ironside? Well, he does the high school state wrestling tournament Saturday night. And I'm not sure. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. They just do, the championship is just Saturday night, but KCRG 9.2 or 109 on cable.
Yeah.
They're going to have the wrestling tournament Thursday and Friday.
Well,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. That's good
Yeah.
information.
Do you have any idea how they're going to cover it? 'Cause
Nope.
That's it.
I do not.
Those are tough days to cover.
Yeah, lot going on. And
Boy,
how do
that's
you
for
pick?
sure.
You know which.
Get all those mats going.
Yeah. And that's when I'm really excited about the national duels at Carver Hawkeye Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, we're going to see wrestlers that we've never seen before.
4 mats going at once, and great teams, great individuals. It's very exciting, and that too is hard for Ironside. And
Will that be
Stephen
sold
Grace.
out?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question.
I would think the attendance would be excellent.
You know it.
I hope so. I would think Minnesota brings a lot of fans. Missouri will bring some. I don't know about Ohio State. I don't think Cornell.
And there'll be a lot of Iowa fans there.
And there will.
Oh, yeah.
It was part of the season ticket package. So
Okay.
all the wrestling, the local Hawkeye wrestling fans will be there, I would
Sure.
think. But it's a nice treat for us because we haven't seen any great opponents, team opponents, in Carver Hawkeye this year. And
You
that's,
get the same seat?
Yep.
That's got to be a little bit of a problem for the other 17 fans. They have to take what's left.
Yep.
So there's a real advantage to hosting.
Yes, there is. Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
Indeed.
And that's wrestling. That's good. We're about out of time. The men's basketball team plays tomorrow night against Rutgers at home. That game is at 7 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. And then they don't play the rest of the week, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Don't they play Nebraska Sunday?
Yeah, we go to Nebraska
That's-
this weekend.
It's Sunday?
Sunday, isn't it,
I
Pat?
was
I don't
thinking.
know if it's Saturday or Sunday, but I know it's this.
It's this weekend at Nebraska,
Okay.
for sure.
And then
yeah.
the women play.
6 games in 3 weeks.
The women are
Yeah.
at
Ohio State.
Ohio State Saturday.
Saturday.
Okay. Is that on TV?
I don't know. I
Well.
should have checked.
Before we check out here, I want to thank James Mims for filling in for Joe Murphy while he's on the road having fun. Your son
Yeah.
is out
He's
gallivanting.
working.
He's working.
He's not working. He's gallivanting.
He's on the campaign.
He works.
Oh, he works. I couldn't do what he does. I really
President is not
couldn't.
campaigning. He's speaking to his electorate.
In Chicago?
I think so.
Is that what it is? All right. I want to say hi to Louise Murphy for putting up with this guy, and Judy Boyce
That's
for
right.
putting up for that guy,
That's right.
and Betty White for putting up with this
That's
guy.
right.
I got nobody to thank for anything, so that's the way it goes. Hope everybody stays warm out there and get
Good
out there and
luck.
support your high school teams, your Hawkeye teams. There's a lot going on, and this time of year is just very exciting. And oh yeah, baseball is right around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
And remember this, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Stick with the Hawks. Go Hawks.
Amen.